What if the very thing that made everyone reject you was the same thing that made the right person find you? In a small village in Benue State, Nigeria, there is a woman named Ene. 30 years old, pretty, light-skinned, hardworking, respectful. On paper, a perfect wife. But not one man in her village would marry her. Not one. And it was not because of anything she did. It was because of a secret. A dark, heavy secret that was made before she was even born. Ene's village sat between two hills in the heart of Benue State. It was the kind of place where everybody knew your name, your mother's name, your grandmother's name, and how many times your father had been drunk at the market square. Nothing stayed secret in Ene. And that was the problem for a woman named Mama Ene. Mama Ene had married her husband, a quiet farmer called Ocholi, when she was 19. He was a good man. Gentle hands, soft voice. He farmed yam and sorghum, and he loved his wife the way a river loves its bank. Steady, slow, always there. But after 5 years of marriage, Mama Ene had not given him a child. 5 years. In any village, 5 years without a child was not just a personal pain, it was a public matter. The other women talked at the borehole, the men murmured at the palm wine stall. Even Ocholi's mother, a stout woman named Mama Ocholi, had started visiting more than was polite, sitting in their parlor, eyes scanning Mama Ene's flat stomach with quiet, cutting judgment. A tree that bears no fruit, the old woman once said, not quite under her breath. What use is its shade? Mama Ene heard it. She cried that night until her wrapper was soaked. It was her cousin Adeize who told her about the prophetess. She lives at the edge of the Okpara forest, Adeize whispered one evening, peeling a day cocoyam by the fire. They say she gives children to women. The hospital cannot help. Which kind of prophetess lives in a forest? Mama Ene asked. Adeize shrugged. The kind that gets results. Now, Mama Ene was a church woman. She sang in the choir every Sunday. She could quote Psalm 27 from memory. But desperation is a dangerous thing. It makes a person walk through doors they would never open on a normal day. 3 weeks later, Mama Ene went to the forest. She went alone before sunrise, telling Ocholi she was going to the early morning prayer at the parish. She tied her wrapper tight and walked the narrow path between the tall trees where the birds did not sing, and the air smelled of palm oil and something older, something she didn't have a name for. The prophetess was a small woman, ancient, wrinkled like old bag. She sat outside a mud hut on a low stool as if she had been waiting. I know why you came, the old woman said before Mama Ene opened her mouth. What happened inside that hut, Mama Ene never fully told anyone, not even Ocholi. But 9 months later, exactly 9 months, Ene was born. A baby girl, plump, light-skinned, beautiful from the first breath. Ocholi wept with joy. Mama Ene held the baby and told herself she had simply prayed and God had answered. She folded at the memory of the forest visit and locked it somewhere deep inside her, where she hoped it would never surface. But in Eden village, nothing stays buried forever. Life no balanso. Ene grew up knowing she was loved. Her father Ocholi doted on her, called her my morning, bought her biscuits from the market even when money was thin. Ene was bright in school, respectful, the kind of girl teachers remembered. She helped her mother pound pepper, fetched water without being asked, and when she laughed, it was the kind of laugh that made the whole compound feel lighter. But there was one thing that confused Ene as a child, then troubled her as a teenager, and then quietly broke her heart as a young woman. She had a pot belly. Not fat, not obese, just a round protruding stomach, firm and permanent, like something sitting inside her that refused to leave. Doctors at the local clinic said nothing was wrong. No worms, no infection, no swelling. Just a pot belly. That was how she was made. In secondary school, girls teased her, Ene don belle, as if she were pregnant. She learned to laugh it off, to wear loose blouses, to stand with her shoulders back, so people would notice her face before her stomach. And her face was worth noticing. She had the kind of beauty that made strangers look twice. Smooth skin the color of fresh palm kernel, a fine nose, soft eyes, and a smile that arrived slowly, like sunrise. But in Edin village, beauty without a flat stomach, beauty with a whispered history, was not quite enough. Life no balance so.
Wow. Ene was 22 when the story finally broke open. It was Mama Ocholi, Ocholi's mother, the grandmother, who told it. The old woman was sick and bitter and had held the secret like a stone in her chest for years. On her sickbed, surrounded by relatives, she said it out loud for the first time. That child was not born by prayer. Her mother went to the forest. She got that girl from the prophetess in the evil forest. That is why the child has a pot in her belly. She carries the mark. The old woman died 2 days later, but her words lived on. By the end of that week, all of Eden village had heard. By the end of the month, the surrounding villages had heard. And the story grew the way stories always grew when they passed through too many mouths. Some said Ene was a spirit child. Some said she had been exchanged, that the real baby had been taken and a forest creature put in its place. Some said whoever married her would carry a curse into his family. None of it was proven. All of it was believed.
Ene was 23 when the first man stopped coming. His name was Talumun, a school teacher from 2 villages away. He had been visiting their compound for 4 months, drinking tea with Ocholi, making Ene laugh on the veranda. Everyone thought he would bring his family to do introduction. Then one Sunday, he simply stopped coming. No letter, no explanation. His friend told someone who told someone who told Ene's cousin. His mother had the story. She said no. At 25, a second man, Emmanuel, a mechanic, who wore clean shirts and had gentle manners. He lasted 3 months before his uncle intervened. At 27, a third, gone within 6 weeks. By 28, men in Eden village stopped even trying. The moment a man showed interest in Ene, his family closed ranks around him. Mothers warned sons, aunties whispered, friends joked, and sometimes jokes are the most dangerous weapon of all. That one, you want to carry forest curse, go your father house. Ene kept going to church, kept smiling at the market, kept helping her mother cook. But at night, alone on her mat, she asked God a question that many young women have asked in silence. Did you make a mistake when you made me?
Mama Ene, aged 10 years in 5. The guilt she had locked away came back full and loud. She had buried it under years of Sunday worship, years of convincing herself it was God who gave the child, years of telling herself the prophetess was just a traditional birth attendant with unusual methods. But watching her daughter grow beautiful and unwanted, watching Ene come home from church and sit in the corner of the compound with a face too calm to be called peace, Mama Ene understood that her choice had followed her child into the world. She stopped going to choir practice. She stopped meeting her friends at the borehole. She sat inside the house more and more, unable to face the village women whose eyes said what their mouths were too polite to say. Ocholi, quiet, steady Ocholi, held his wife at night and told her, God is not finished. But Mama Ene could only weep. And Ene, 30 years old now, would sometimes find her mother crying in the kitchen, and she would sit beside her and hold her hand. Not angry, not accusing, just present. Because Ene understood something her mother was still learning. She had not created herself. She had not chosen the forest. She had not written the story she was born into. She had simply arrived, the way every child arrives, without asking to come, without choosing the terms. If there was a debt, it was not hers to pay. Inside Lifo,
300 kilometers away, in the city of Makurdi, a man named Daniel was having the same dream for the 3rd time. Daniel was 35, an agricultural extension officer, calm, measured, the kind of man who read the Bible in the morning, not because his mother told him to, but because it genuinely made sense to him. He had been engaged once at 31, but his fiancée had left him for someone with a car and a Lagos accent. He had not been bitter. He had been careful. In the dream, he always saw the same thing: a village compound, an orange tree in the corner bearing fruit, and a woman standing under it, light-skinned, a round softness to her, with eyes that looked like they had been crying for a long time but had chosen to stop. She never spoke in the dream. She just looked at him the way you look at someone you have been waiting for, without knowing their name. The third time he had the dream, he woke up and sat at the edge of his bed for a long time. He was not the type for visions and signs, but 3 times was 3 times. He called his old friend Tesu, who was from somewhere in that part of Benue State. "Tesu," he said, "you know a village called Eden?"
Daniel arrived in Eden village on a Thursday afternoon. He told Tesu he just wanted to visit the area, see family, rest from the city. Tesu, who had a cousin in Eden, arranged for him to stay 2 nights in a family compound not far from the main road. Daniel saw Ene on Friday morning. She was walking back from the borehole, a bucket of water balanced on her head, her back straight, her face pointed forward. She was wearing a simple blue blouse and a wrapper with a faded pattern. No makeup, no performance. Daniel stood at the roadside and watched her pass. The orange tree in the dream, he had just seen it in the corner of the compound she walked into. He did not approach her that day. He was not that kind of man. He asked Tesu's cousin carefully, casually, "Who is that woman? The light-skinned one with the blue blouse?" The cousin looked at him, then looked away. "That is Ene, Ocholi's daughter. She is married?" A pause. "No, she is not married." The way the cousin said it, the weight in those words told Daniel there was more to this story. He didn't press. He sat with it. That evening, he went for a walk and ended up near the compound. Ene was sitting on a bench outside, shelling melon seeds, and Mama Ene was beside her, silent. There was something in the way the two of them sat together, a quiet suffering, a quiet endurance that caught in Daniel's chest like a hook. He greeted them, they responded. He did not stay long, but he didn't sleep that night. Life no balance, so.
Saturday morning, Daniel went back. He came properly this time, not wandering. He sat with Ocholi, introduced himself, explained his work, his family, his church. Ocholi was reserved at first, the way a father is when he has watched his daughter be hurt too many times. But Daniel did not come with flattery. He came with straightforwardness. "Sir, I want to get to know your daughter, with your blessing." Ocholi looked at him for a long time. "You are from the city?" "Yes, sir." "You don't know this village?" "I know enough to know I'm sitting in front of you, asking the right way." Ocholi almost smiled. He called Ene. She came out of the kitchen wiping her hands on a cloth and stopped when she saw the stranger from yesterday, sitting formally in their parlor. Her eyes asked a question she didn't voice. "This man wants to greet you," Ocholi said simply. Daniel stood up. Not dramatic, not showy. He just stood, the way a person stands when they mean what they are about to say. "I heard something about you in this village," he said, "and I want you to know I didn't come here for what I heard. I came here for what I saw." Ene looked at him. After a moment, she said, "What did you see?" "Someone who is still standing." The room was quiet. Mama Ene, who had been eavesdropping from the corridor, because of course she was, pressed her back against the wall and covered her hand with her hand.
Daniel came back 4 more times over the next 2 months. He did not hurry. He did not rush Ene into anything. He sat with her father. He ate Mama Ene's food and told her honestly it was the best of yaku he had ever tasted. He talked to Ene about her life, her dreams, the small farm she had started at the back of the compound where she grew vegetables to sell. He did not pretend the potbelly was not there. He did not mention it either. He simply looked at Ene, the whole Ene, and kept coming back. When he finally told her about the dream, the orange tree, the woman standing under it, 3 times the same vision, Ene was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I used to ask God if he made a mistake with me." "What do you think now?" Daniel asked. She looked at the orange tree in the corner of their compound, fruit heavy on its branches. "I think he was just not in a hurry." The introduction ceremony was held in December. The whole of Eden village came, some to celebrate, some to confirm with their own eyes that a man had truly come. Mama Ine wore her best aswebi and danced in the compound with tears streaming down her face. Ocholi sat in his chair and smiled the slow smile of a man whose prayer has finally received its answer. And Ine, in her wine-colored lace, her pot belly present and accounted for, her light skin glowing in the afternoon sun, sat beside the man who had seen her in a dream and decided she was worth the journey. She was not a different woman than she had been at 23. Not thinner, not with a different history, not born again from a different mother or a different story. She was exactly the same woman that all those men had refused. God had simply been waiting, not to fix her, but to find a man whose eyes were calibrated differently.
Before we end this story, I need to say something directly to someone watching this right now. You have been waiting. Maybe it is marriage. Maybe it is a child. Maybe it is a door that will not open no matter how hard you knock. And people around you, some of them people you love, have started to make you feel like the problem is you. Like if you are just a little different, a little thinner, a little lighter, a little less of whatever you are, then your blessing would come. I want you to hear what Annie understood at 30 years old, sitting under that orange tree. You did not create yourself. The story you are born into, you did not write it. The body you are given, you did not design it. The family you came from, you did not choose it. And a God who made the whole earth in 6 days is not confused about how to get the right person to your door. Mama Ine made a mistake in that forest, a real one, and that mistake had real consequences. But God, in His kindness, did not make Annie pay for a debt she never signed. The child does not carry the sin of the mother. And for the mothers watching this, if you have done something in desperation that you are ashamed of, something you thought you buried, give it to God. Truly give it. Because holding that shame is not protecting your children. It is only destroying you. Annie's story did not end in that village with empty hands and a broken heart. It ended with a man who drove 300 kilometers because God showed him her face before he ever knew her name. Your story is not over either. Wait well, pray honest, and trust that the God who made you, all of you, exactly as you are, has not forgotten your address. Inside Lifeful.
If this story touched you, share it with someone who is still waiting. And drop in the comments, what part of Annie's story did you see yourself in? God bless you. See you in the next one. Come back for more video. Bye-bye.